What if all of the burning, bloating, reflux, and nutrient deficiencies that keep showing up on your labs, despite all of the supplements you're taking, are all being caused by not enough stomach acid? Today, we're talking about low stomach acid, why it's one of the most misunderstood and overlooked drivers of gut symptoms, and the 7 big signs that your body might be dealing with it right now. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Stomach Solution, the podcast for all you high achievers out there who are tired of managing your reflux, heartburn, and stomach pain and are ready for a solution that lasts. I'm Jessica Washington, functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and former reflux sufferer myself, so I know firsthand what it feels like to do everything right and still feel like your stomach is working against you. So, if you're ready to dig into your symptoms' hidden root causes, the ones that diet changes and supplements just won't touch, get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's uncover the solution to your stomach issues together. And as a reminder, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a replacement for medical advice or treatment. Well, hello. Welcome back to the Stomach Solution podcast. I'm so glad you're here. It's May. I can't believe it's May. Where is 2026 going? This is our last month of school. I have a kindergartner and a preschooler, and I can't believe he's going to be in first grade. And the preschooler will be in his last year of preschool and do all of the adorable things like have a little graduation ceremony and just soak up his last year of not being in real school. So we're enjoying all of the big changes and the transition to summer over here, and so I hope you are doing the same. But today I'm excited about what we're talking about. We are gonna wind it back a little bit to some basics and talk about something that I think is one of the most, I don't want to say misunderstood, but I guess just a big misconception. I don't know. I guess that would make it misunderstood. Anyways, it's also very important because if you have this misconception or this misunderstanding about this topic, that could lead you down a totally different path in your healing, and you might not be seeing the improvements and the results that you are expecting. And so, this whole topic is that if you have any sort of gut issues, even beyond just the reflux and heartburn and stomach pain that we're normally talking about, you most likely have low stomach acid. And I will wind that back even further to just say that if you live life in 2026, you likely have low stomach acid. It's just stomach acid and the like go, 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 always having to be doing something, social media addicted lifestyle that we all tend to live. Those two do not go hand in hand. You cannot have proper stomach acid production and be always on the go and always like glued to a device and constantly having your brain being processing all of these different things that are just being given to you in an algorithm designed to keep you on your phone. Anyways, this is not a TED Talk on social media, but just saying that if you're listening to this right now, you probably have low stomach acid, even if you don't know, and even if it feels like you have high stomach acid. And so I know the whole low stomach acid realization may sound a little bit counterintuitive, especially if you've been dealing with reflux or heartburn. Everything that you've probably read or been told by your doctor points to having too much acid. That's why antacids and PPIs are so commonly prescribed, with the thinking there being that if the acid is causing the pain and the burning, let's reduce the acid, help you feel better, all of that, which is great, right? We don't want you to be suffering, and there are very much instances where you do need acid suppression in order to heal damaged tissue and to actually like function normally. But in my practice and in my own personal health journey, what I have found is that more often than not, the issue is not too much acid, but it's that you don't have enough acid. And in fact, having low stomach acid, like I alluded to earlier, can impact way more than just your stomach and the symptoms that you feel there. If you don't have enough stomach acid, that just causes a giant cascade of digestive collapse throughout your entire gut and really impacts your entire body and just how well your body's able to produce thyroid hormone and how well your liver and gallbladder are able to function and just how much energy you have. And so stomach acid is such a critical piece to the feeling well puzzle that I wanted to talk about it today. So today we're going to walk through some of the big signs, even outside of digestive signs, that you have low stomach acid, and then we're going to talk about what you can do about it. And so I bet maybe some of these are going to surprise you. All right, but before we get into all of these signs, let's back up and dig a little deeper into what exactly stomach acid does, why you need it, why it's so important because it's the goat. Can we just give stomach acid a little crown and a trophy? Anyways, so what is stomach acid? Why do you need it? So stomach acid, also called hydrochloric acid, or you might see it written HCl, is one of the most important parts of your digestive system. And I want to be clear, it's not the enemy. I know it feels like the enemy when you feel the burning and the reflux and the heartburn and all of this stuff. It's like, why will my stomach not just calm down? I feel like there's a giant fire in there. It must be the stomach acid. But your stomach produces HCl for a reason, several reasons actually. So, first, it breaks down food, especially protein. And so, without enough stomach acid, proteins cannot be properly digested before they move into the rest of your digestive tract. And without great protein digestion, that protein ferments and it putrefies in your guts, and you get lots of bloating and potentially really smelly gas, and you just don't feel well. You feel full and nauseous and like you're not digesting well because you're not. And nobody wants that. And so, stomach acid is king in protein digestion. Also, stomach acid kills pathogens. Your stomach acid is frontline defense against bacteria, parasites, and other things that you ingest that you don't want taking residence in your gut. And so, if you don't have adequate levels of stomach acid, you're going to be susceptible. That door is going to be opened a little bit to getting ingested pathogens and having them take hold and just kind of getting stuck in this cycle of always having gut infections to treat. And then third, stomach acid triggers the rest of your digestive cascade. So when you eat, your stomach acid production signals to your pancreas. So your pancreas is just waiting in the wings to get the signal that your stomach is producing stomach acid. And once your pancreas gets that signal, it starts secreting digestive enzymes, and your gallbladder then gets the signal to release bile. And so it's really a little chain reaction that happens. And without that initial strong stomach acid signal, that whole digestive process goes downhill, and you're just not going to be digesting anything well. You might notice you have undigested food in your stool. You might notice you don't digest fats well. And instead of taking like ox bile and digestive enzymes and all these other things, if you can correct the low stomach acid, you can fix all of that. But I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but I can't help it. All right, stick to the notes. Okay, the fourth thing that stomach acid does really well and is very critical for is absorbing certain nutrients, especially B12, iron, magnesium, and zinc. And so if you seem to always have nutrient deficiencies, no matter how much you supplement, low stomach acid could be a cause. So, when stomach acid is low, your entire system, not just your stomach, suffers. Your digestion slows down, nutrients don't get absorbed properly, and pathogens that should be killed off are now able to survive and thrive, all of which we don't want. Okay, so now that we know why we need adequate levels of stomach acid, let's talk about those subtle little signs that you do actually have low stomach acid and that you would really benefit from taking a deeper look as to why. I will say this again probably multiple times throughout this episode. Your body is not just not producing enough stomach acid just because. And so if you're resonating with these 8, I think I have, signs of low stomach acid, you're like, yep, that's me. Yep, that's me. Then you really need to take a step back and dig deeper and figure out why your body is not producing enough stomach acid. All right. So we've got 8, I believe, low stomach acid signs. So let's get into it. All right. Sneaky sign of low stomach acid, number one, is that you feel excessively full after a regular sized meal. And so this is what I hear from clients constantly. They will sit down to a meal or even a snack and eat what feels like a completely normal amount of food, or even they just get started eating and they only eat a small portion of their food, and then within minutes they feel like they've just finished a Thanksgiving dinner. They're so full, heavy, and sluggish and uncomfortable, and they cannot stomach eating anymore. And if that is you, you're not alone. And there is a reason that's happening, and it all comes down to stomach acid. And that's because when stomach acid is low, your food does not get broken down efficiently. And when it doesn't get broken down, it just stays in your stomach and does not move out of your stomach properly. So it just sits there, and you feel excessively full even hours after a meal. And that's just because your stomach acid levels aren't strong enough to properly break down that food. And so it's hanging out longer than it should, making you not feel so great. And another downstream effect of that is that it also makes it difficult to eat enough, because if you feel like 3 to 4 hours after eating, you're still full and uncomfortable from your last meal, you're not going to want to eat again anytime soon. And so this can really be, again, a cascade of problems that can lead to undereating and losing weight, which is very common when you have the reflux and heartburn and low stomach acid. All right, and then sign number two that you have low stomach acid is that you are bloated and or constipated. And this happens because when you have low stomach acid, again, food is not properly broken down in your stomach, which causes it to arrive in your small intestine still in a partially digested state. And then that partially digested food becomes food for the bacteria in your gut, which ferment it and produce gas, and that's where the bloating comes from. And that same slowdown in the whole digestive process that starts in your stomach when you have low stomach acid negatively impacts your gut motility down in your intestines, which means essentially how quickly things move through your system, which then can lead to constipation. So if you have low stomach acid, you're not going to have adequate pancreatic enzyme output, you're not going to have adequate bile output, and bile is very essential for gut motility, for moving things through your GI tract. And so if that whole cascade is not working well, you're going to be backed up and not be excreting normally. So if you're someone who deals with that uncomfortable, bloated feeling after meals, which tends to increase as the day goes on, and or you don't have bowel movements every day, or those bowel movements are smaller in volume, low stomach acid can definitely be a big piece of that puzzle. All right, and then sign number three is you keep testing positive for H. pylori even after treatment. And this is a big one because people always want to know how they can make sure that they don't get H. pylori again after treating it. And this is something I see a lot in my clients who have gone through multiple rounds of H. pylori treatment before working with me without lasting results. So H. pylori, we already know, it's a bacterial infection that lives in your stomach lining, and one of the ways that it survives is by suppressing stomach acid production. It literally lowers your acid as a survival mechanism because it just cannot thrive in a highly acidic environment. So, when H. pylori suppresses your stomach acid, it creates that lovely low acid environment that it needs to survive, which is not great for you. So then you treat that infection, but if you don't address the low acid environment that that infection created, the conditions are still there and H. pylori can definitely come back. So even once you get rid of the H. pylori infection, you're not done. You still have work to do. You have to be intentional about working to heal your stomach and rebuild that stomach acid production again. And this low stomach acid H. pylori cycle is one that a lot of people get stuck in, and it's one of the reasons why addressing stomach acid is so important when treating H. pylori. You can't just stop at killing the bacteria because that, again, leaves you open and susceptible to getting H. pylori or other infections again. All right, sign number four that you have low stomach acid, and this one's a little obvious, but I had to put it in there, is that you have reflux or heartburn. And if you've been here for a while, you already know this, but if you're new to my little corner of the internet, this may sound completely counterintuitive. If you have acid reflux, right? Stomach acid coming up your throat, how could the problem be that you have too little stomach acid? So let me explain. What's actually happening is that at the bottom of your esophagus, there is a little valve called the lower esophageal sphincter, or the LES. Its job is to stay nice and tight and closed so that stomach contents do not travel back up into your esophagus. So that is really what's preventing you from having reflux all the time. And one of the signals that tells this LES to close properly is adequate stomach acid. So when stomach acid is low, that signal does not happen in the way that it should, and that little LES valve stays relaxed. And so even though there's actually less stomach acid in your stomach overall, whatever acid is in there can splash up through that relaxed valve, and that causes the burning sensation you know as reflux or heartburn. This is also why antacids and PPIs, which reduce acid even further, can definitely provide short-term relief, but often make things worse over time. You're reducing the very thing that your body needs to send that signal to your LES to close. And so your valve just stays loose and open and your cycle just continues, which is why it's always worth digging deeper into why you're having low stomach acid and not just relying on these acid blockers and things as your only line of defense. All right, and sign number 5 that you have low stomach acid. I really like this one because this one's super sneaky. Is that your nails are brittle or you're losing more hair than usual. And this one surprises a lot of people, but it makes complete sense once you understand the absorption piece of stomach acid, which we already talked about a little bit, but we're going to go over again because it's important. So your body, again, needs stomach acid to properly absorb certain minerals, including zinc, iron, and magnesium. And all of these minerals and nutrients are the exact things that support strong nails and healthy hair. And so if maybe you've noticed your nails are getting a little brittle or your hair seems more damaged or falling out more easily, and you've been taking supplements for brittle nails or hair loss and not seeing much improvement, one possible reason is that your stomach acid is just too low to actually absorb those supplements. You could be doing everything right on the supplement side and still not getting the benefit because that absorption pathway is broken. You don't have enough stomach acid to actually do what your body needs to do. And the only thing that's really going to help stop this is to work on figuring out why you have low stomach acid and address it. Okay. Sign number 6 that you have low stomach acid is that you feel noticeably worse. Your symptoms get worse after eating meat or a high protein meal. And this goes back to the whole protein digestion piece, which is almost entirely dependent on stomach acid. When your stomach acid is adequate, protein gets broken down efficiently, everything works well in your stomach. But when stomach acid is low, that protein, those meats, whatever you're eating is going to sit in your stomach longer, be undigested. It's going to ferment and cause heaviness and gas and discomfort and likely a big increase in symptoms. And so if you've started just subtly avoiding meat, or you've noticed that you feel better when you stick to lighter, low protein meals, that pattern is definitely worth paying attention to. And it does not mean that you should stop eating protein. You need protein. It just means that your stomach is likely not producing enough stomach acid to process and digest that protein properly. And okay, I lied. I only have 7 signs of low stomach acid. My bad. So, sign number 7, this is our last one that you have low stomach acid is that you have chronic nutrient deficiencies, even though you eat really well. And so this is one that I find really telling, especially when I'm looking at someone's blood labs or HTMA, right? There's really no reliable test for stomach acid levels. I get asked that all the time. But when you look at blood labs or you look at an HTMA and everything is depleted, especially B12, iron, zinc, potassium, sodium, all of those things, magnesium, even calcium. And you're eating a nutrient-dense diet or supplementing with these things, but you're still deficient. That's a big red flag that your stomach acid is in the tank. And this honestly is one of the biggest arguments, in my opinion, for functional lab testing, because if you're deficient in multiple nutrients despite doing all of the right things, what's your doctor gonna do? Just give you more of those nutrients. Just give you more B12 supplements, maybe even recommend B12 injections. But you're not solving the actual problem. So yes, you may raise your B12 levels with injections or infusions and all of that, but you're still going to have low stomach acid, and that's still going to trickle down and negatively impact other areas of your body. Whereas if you use functional lab testing and find that you're deficient in multiple nutrients despite doing all the right things, we have the tools, we have the resources and the data to dig deeper underneath that and see what's happening in your body, in your stomach to cause that. And then we can fix it. All right, so those were my big 7, not 8, kind of sneaky, low-key signs that you have low stomach acid. Now, let's talk about why it might be happening in the first place. Because again, it does not happen randomly. Your body all of a sudden does not say, we're going to stop producing stomach acid today. There is a reason. And because there is a reason, that means there's something that you can identify and fix. So, the number one driver of low stomach acid that I see in people, you're not going to like this, is chronic stress. When your nervous system is stuck in a stress response, your body deprioritizes digestion. It's just not on your body's radar. Like when you're stressed, your body doesn't know the difference between sitting in traffic or having to write a stressful email or scrolling through Instagram, getting fed whatever the algorithm wants to feed you, and running away from a tiger. Like to your body, those are all the same things. And so when your body is in that constant stress response, stuck in a state of chronic stress, digestion is not important. What's important is increasing your heart rate, increasing your blood pressure, increasing your respiration rate, sending nutrients and blood and resources to your muscles so that you can run and fight and do whatever you need to survive. And so stomach acid production is suppressed just right out of the gate by your stress response. Your body is saying, we are in survival mode right now. Digestion, we don't need it. And over time, that sustained suppression takes a real toll on your stomach acid levels. Your body's just going to give up and be like, I guess we're always being chased from a tiger. We never need to eat or digest or all of these things. And so you're not going to be digesting, absorbing, doing anything well to give you the nutrition and the calories that you need to feel well and heal. Beyond that, which I should just have a whole podcast on that because clearly we have some passion there. But anyways, another big cause of low stomach acid is the long-term use of acid-suppressing medications. PPIs and antacids are designed to lower acid production. And again, they can be completely necessary in certain situations. And so if you're on them right now, you're using them as a resource to help you feel better, please don't feel bad. Please don't feel like you need to get off those immediately. It is, though, a good goal to work with your doctor to see if you can get off of that. And your doctor, unfortunately, most of the time does not have the resources to help you be able to get off of those. And so that's when you might need to work with a functional practitioner who can dig into the reasons why you need to be on the PPIs and the antacids in order to feel well. And once you've identified and resolved those reasons, then you should be in a better place to be able to get off of those medications. All right. Age is also a factor in stomach acid production. It just naturally declines as we get older, which is why digestive complaints tend to become more common as people age. That's just kind of something we can't really control, but we do have control of our environment, our stress levels, all of the other things that can help to compensate for that. Again, H. pylori infection, as I mentioned earlier, actively suppresses acid production as a survival strategy. And then, kind of a vicious cycle, but nutrient deficiencies play a role in low stomach acid as well, specifically zinc and sodium and potassium, which are actually required for your body to produce stomach acid. And so if you're already depleted in these nutrients, your ability to make adequate stomach acid is compromised, which kind of creates a vicious cycle because you need stomach acid in order to absorb those nutrients, but you also need those nutrients to produce stomach acid. And so when this is the case, and we've identified this for a client, we have to look at and work on other contributing factors that will help to increase that stomach acid and then let the zinc and the sodium and the potassium kind of correct themselves on their own. So when I'm working with a client and we see a pattern of some or all of these signs of low stomach acid, you probably know me by now, but I never just stop there and say, okay, we need to give you betaine HCl or digestive enzymes, and that's it. That's what will solve it. Because that's just another Band-Aid approach and is really no better than seeing a conventional doctor. I'm going to throw that out there and be a little bit controversial that if your practitioner, whether they're a naturopath or whoever, is just having you take betaine HCl and that's it, that's not a solution. They are acting in a very conventional medicine way. They're saying, this is what's wrong, this is going to fix it. They're not digging deeper to ask why that is wrong. And that's what I do as an FDN. That's how we're trained. We are always trained to dig deeper under the surface of your symptoms, ask why things are occurring, and then use lab testing to identify that dysfunction and imbalance underneath the surface that will then enable your body to just naturally correct itself. And so the work that I do does not target stomach acid specifically. It targets the underlying imbalances and dysfunctions that are causing the low stomach acid in the first place. And then once we fix that, your body just produces stomach acid all on its own. So again, not a situation where I'd recommend just grabbing a bottle of betaine HCl and starting to supplement on your own. That can definitely help in some situations, and in others can also make your symptoms a lot worse. And so I always recommend treading lightly with HCl supplementation. For some clients, I use it, and then others, I'm like, let's stay away. For example, if you have a lot of inflammation or irritation in your stomach lining, adding supplemental acid essentially without addressing the stomach environment first is going to make you feel a whole lot worse. And so I don't want that for you. So I would not recommend just blindly grabbing stomach acid if you think that you have low stomach acid. You can probably guess what I actually recommend, but we're going to talk about it anyways, is that you use functional lab testing to get a clear picture of what's happening in your gut and your entire body environment. Something like the GI map stool test can reveal so much. It's the most valuable test that I run, whether that ends up showing us things like H. pylori or other pathogens, or just how your immune function looks, whether you have a lot of inflammation, how you're reacting to gluten, your overall digestive function. All of those things can give us such good insight into why you're having low stomach acid. And then from there, we can make targeted strategic decisions about what your body actually needs rather than just guessing based on symptoms alone. And that's really the point of everything that I do with my clients. And so those 7 signs that I walked through today are clues. But those clues point us towards asking better questions and running the right tests so that whatever we do is actually moving you towards real, lasting healing instead of just managing symptoms temporarily. And this is the kind of root cause investigation that I do inside my one-on-one coaching every day. I enjoy it so much. It's so much fun for me to be able to put my little detective hat on and really look deeper than people's symptoms to get them actual answers and get them feeling so much better. And so if all of this resonates with you and you are ready to stop guessing and start getting real answers as to why you have low stomach acid or why you keep getting H. pylori or all of these things, I would love to talk with you and learn more about your unique situation and see how I can help. And so the link to schedule a free strategy session and work with me is in the show notes. Definitely, if you're thinking about it, if you're curious, if you just want to chat, it's a very low pressure conversation. I really just want to learn more about you and share with you how these labs could specifically work and help you uncover causes of your symptoms. And so would be happy to chat. And to kind of wrap things up today, the biggest takeaway here is that your gut, your stomach is not working against you. Your symptoms are not random. They're not out to get you. And they're not just something you have to live with. They are signals. And when we take the time to understand what those signals are actually telling us, that's where we can start the real healing. And you can really start getting better without all of the restriction and without all of the guesswork. So if several of these signs sounded familiar today and you're like, oh, I probably have low stomach acid, please know there's so much for you on the other side of this. And there's definitely things that we can dig into, investigate, address, and resolve. And so here to help. Just let me know, send me an email, shoot me a DM on Instagram. Happy to chat. But thanks so much for being here today, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning into the Stomach Solution. If you got something valuable out of today's episode, please subscribe to the show and leave a rating and review wherever you're listening. It takes about 30 seconds and makes a huge difference in helping this show reach the people who need it the most. And if you're ready to dig even deeper into what's going on with your gut, come find me on Instagram at the Gut Healing Ninja, or head to thegуthealingninja.com to get more resources and strategies to help you heal. And remember, there is a solution to your stomach issues, and we will find it together.